Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. They call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to be talking about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're sorting through a grab bag of assorted measuring systems, we'll be caching in the Northwest. And tonight, we're going to get going to help you to get the kids out caching. Since they're out of school, almost out of school, they may never be out of school, out of the house at least. I don't know. Whatever it is for you, we want to help you to get those kids moving. And as always, live audience, share your thoughts with us. Now, it's time to bring in our childlike chimpanzee. Some say he shaves with a chainsaw. And others say when he plays spin the bottle, others play hide and seek. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hey, wow. There's just so much love right out of the start of the podcast. I love it. That's fantastic. I appreciate you too, Chris. All right.
You know, it's amazing how we get all this information about you.
Well, you know, I've got to get Mrs. Monkey off Facebook is I think pretty much what has to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Time to put some more filters on the firewall. All right.
Just in case you didn't know, Mrs. Monkey writes 90% of these.
Yeah, I bet she does. I bet she does. Definitely, listening audience, if you see her, make sure you check in with her about that. I'm sure she'd appreciate having that conversation. All right. Other things that we appreciate are our patrons and the support we get from our patron family. You guys are awesome. You help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. We also want to thank our corporate Denali level sponsors, and that would be Landsharks, LANDSHARKZ.ca. And folks, if you are bringing kids to Vancouver Island to go caching, or if you're bringing kids to Vancouver Island and you also want to go caching, make sure to stop by the Sharks store in Esquimalt, right near Victoria, British Columbia, on Vancouver Island. They have that on-site, easy-to-solve field puzzle at their award-winning Geocache of the Week. Check it all out at landsharks.ca. And I would be remiss if I forgot to mention our other corporate Denali level sponsor, Gold Country Geotourism. Visit exploregoldcountry.com, learn about the geotour, learn about the region. Don't forget to download the app. Find it all at exploregoldcountry.com. And you know what? You know what, Chris?
Tell me what.
Do you know what people could do if they wanted to support this show?
They could tell a friend, and then they could tell two friends, and so on, and so on.
I don't think we have enough squares on the screen to really express what we're trying to communicate here.
I should come up with a graphic for that.
You really should. I think that would be excellent. However, the other thing you could do, if you either A, are enjoying this, or B, are not enjoying this and think, oh my goodness, these guys need more money so they can do a better job. Well, you know what? You can go and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
I think with a lot more money, we could hire writers that would make us, sound really good rather than gooder. We write. And this is what you get.
They could write gooder than we write.
Exactly. Betterer.
That too. Indeed.
Well, folks, thank you so much for those who do support. We certainly appreciate you, and I never want to make light of that.
I do.
But
I make
speaking,
light of everything, though, and I also derail the podcast. So,
but speaking of light, light makes things glow. So let's talk about the
I see where
glow.
you were going,
Yes.
but I derailed it.
Yeah, there you
that's
go.
what I do.
It's time for the glow. That's the geocaching log of the week. So whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make caching better. Now, you can send an email, which many people do. You can send a recording, which fewer people do. So do you want to be the mass or do you want to be the elite?
Yeah.
Right? Either case, send those both to feedback@cachingnw.com, or you can call into 253-693-TFTC and show us just how you glow. But folks, stop what you're doing right now. Stop. Unless you're driving, then continue on.
What if you're podcasting?
But pull over. If you're podcasting, stop. Nobody will notice. Send in a glow. You know that log you read? Yeah, send it in. And then you can continue what you were doing.
Okay, I sent a glow in.
What's a glow?
What's a glow?
Geocaching log of the week. See, we got these people trained.
Asked and answered. See, you don't need us.
More gooders, more better than betterer.
Nice one. Nice one.
Oh, thank you. Just finding our way. You know what?
What?
Speaking of just finding our way.
Yeah. Oh, is there a glow that we should read? You know what?
There is.
We have a glow to read, and it is from Just Finding Our Way.
Who knew?
How amazing is that? All right. Well, let's just get reading in here. So, addressed to Chris and crew. Wow. Okay. Thanks. So that's how it starts.
Yeah.
So
thanks,
crew. I get to read it. So we'll just keep that in mind as we read this. It begins. I was surprised to see an FTF log from a CNW patron who seems to be a long way from home. Well, this is on cache GCAG1HB, and looks like our chat lackey is going to throw that in the chat for you guys. That's awesome. And it reads as this. Here's the log.
The name of the cache is False Alarm 2.
I wasn't going to give the name of the cache.
Oh, oops.
I had a plan, but that's okay, Chris. I'm just crew. So whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. Let's move on.
Oh, absolutely, Your Majesty. The glow reads, I heard the new cache alarm sound just as I crawled into bed last night, which was plenty early. I rallied the team for an early morning cache run. I knew we'd be hitting Apache Junction again at some point of the trip, as there are so many amazing hides. I just didn't think it would be today. We didn't need any lights or sirens to get to GZ quickly this morning as we watched the sunrise to the east, which is good. That's better than it happening in the west. We arrived at our first incident location, and some careful observation led us to where we needed to be. The cache is looking so shiny. We weren't sure what challenge we'd be presented with next. We sustained the pressure and kept things turning, and before we knew it, the mission was complete without even a siren sounding. Thanks for another great cache and for getting us out early today. FTF. Found by, drumroll please.
Wait, I've got one.
I know. Trexer. There you go. So one of our Caching the Northwest patron family from up here in British Columbia got an FTF on a Just Finding Our Way cache in Arizona. What a cool story.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Just Finding Our Way, for sharing that with Chris and his crew.
On Gilligan's Island and the rest.
Indeed. Yes. Definitely start cacher. That's the way it's going to go tonight. Yeah. You know what, Wet Coaster? So Wet Coaster called out that I said GZ instead of GZ. He's curious what language I am speaking tonight. And I thought I would throw a token incorrect letter of the alphabet out there since, I'm just the crew.
Well, it was found in the United States. So here we're at GZ. If it's found in Canada, it's at GZ.
If it's found by a Canadian, it's GZ. But this time I decided I would
Well,
throw it over there.
Trexer
is Canadian. I know.
Yeah.
So it should have been GZ. But I thought I would be nice. But, no one's accustomed to me being nice. So I understand that.
So does that make his name Trexzeder?
It does indeed.
Okay. You know what?
I would like you to pronounce it that way when you see him next.
Trexzeder. Got it. I'm just trying to be culturally appropriate.
You would like to culturally appropriate the Canadians? Is that what I heard?
Kind of, yeah. At times.
Do we have any news, please? Let's move on.
I don't know. We got 3 hams now saying if found by a Canadian is GZ, eh?
GZA? Yeah.
GZA. Okay. Tonight, we are talking about the kids, maybe to the kids, and telling them, don't make me stop this podcast.
Too late. Hey, did you are you skipping over the piece of news you had there? I didn't know if you wanted to.
Well, I was going to here's your time to use hashtag kids to share something in the chat.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I scrolled down right past that.
And of course, you can use hashtag FATAS to bring up something in the after show. You see, I wanted to get those hashtag kids comments rolling while we talk about the news. So they've got time to type, and then we come in and read while it's still fresh.
I mean, that's why I'm just the crew. You've got a plan here.
Okay.
I'll let you just keep going.
Okay. Well, we also have another email. This one comes from a cacher with a bloody cool name. Well, his name is bloody cool because he must be bloody cool. He starts off with, howdy, gents. There's no crew involved here.
That's a much better start.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm rather behind in my podcast, but I've just listened to episode 558 about the ape cache in Brazil. Okay, so that's 9 episodes behind. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
I can confirm it's absolutely possible to do without a guide or speaking a word of Portuguese.
Okay.
Now, if you're listening to the audio, you can't see Land Monkey's face right now.
I don't deny that it's possible, but you're making it a lot harder is all I'm going to say. But go on.
He goes on to say, retired guy and I found it back in August 2022. I ended up finding both ape caches less than 10 days apart.
Wow.
We were the first 2 cachers to complete the geo tour there post-pandemic. It took us 6.5 hours in the park to get the ape cache and the full geo tour, only possible because we had a 4x4 rental car.
Yeah.
Happy trails, bloody cool. Now, I want to give you a moment of rebuttal.
Okay.
So, no, this is actually to you. And we have something from Wino Seattle. Says, how much does it cost to get to the ape cache in Brazil? Not counting the flight, lodging, and transportation. So if you just wanted to, I don't know, drive there, it's going to be time more than dollars, is it not?
Yeah. I mean, I think that Brian says $42.
42. It's the answer to everything.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure.
Is there an entry fee for the park?
Oh, because we went as a group and we sort of had all of our stuff.
You kind of circumvented the individual experience.
We did, yeah. So I'm not. I couldn't answer that off the top of my head, but okay. He says that's what he meant. All right. So what does it cost to get into the park? I don't know, but I bet you that's Googleable. And using Google Translate, you don't need to speak a word of Portuguese either. So, but definitely time. It was interesting when so with Buddy Cool's message there, when when you first mentioned the date, my first thought was August 2022, like that. And then he said, the first 2 caches to complete post-pandemic. I was like, yeah, okay. I was thinking, was the park even open yet then? And
Apparently
obviously it had just reopened. Yeah.
It took us 6.5 hours in the park to get the ape cache and the full geo tour. It didn't say where they came from and how long their travel to.
It's like a 6-hour drive from the nearest airport to get to the park. So, that's definitely a consideration in there. But 6.5 hours to do the ape cache and the full geo tour, that's aggressive. Like I would not say that is the average. I would say that is like a very high speed. Yeah. So I mean, good for them.
They had a 4x4 rental car, so apparently they could drive it.
Well, there's sections you can drive, and then you'd have to like park on the side of the dirt road, and
it's a rental car. You can make it all the way through, right? Yeah. Right to ground Z row.
Yeah. Anyways, interesting. All right. Well, let's that was an interesting thing. So first of all, thank you, Bloody Cool, for sending in the little bit of news there for us to talk about. That was fun to chat through that, and good to hear. And thanks for listening through on the podcast. We hope you get caught up. And when you hear this episode, put a mark on the chalkboard, because now you've caught up to this point in time.
That's exactly right.
So you can use this as a reference point moving forward.
It's a waymark, if you will. Yeah. A mile marker.
Yeah.
A milestone. I could go on.
A millstone. All right. Hey, why don't we talk about losing your kids when you go geocaching?
Yeah. Wait, what?
Isn't that what we're talking about?
I didn't do it right then.
Well, then what are we talking about, Chris?
Well, we're talking about the benefits of geocaching for kids and families. Right? It encourages outdoor activity, problem solving, and being able to get along in the car.
Okay.
What other people would call teamwork.
There you go. Definitely teamwork. Yeah.
It's a fantastic way to explore new places and discover hidden gems in your very own hometown. Like I've said many times, there's a park less than a quarter mile from me that I never knew existed until somebody put a geocache in it. I driven by it and I didn't see the park sign. I assumed that was somebody's property.
There you go. Well, and I think that's a great sort of bullet point there to talk about as well, right? Because as we said, we're at that season now where kids are wrapping up school. People are looking at their summer vacations, and most people have already made their plans of where they're going to go, what they're going to do. But when you get there, or on the way there, depending on how you're traveling, you may have situations where you need to find ways to keep the kids engaged and get them, if you're on a long road trip, just stretch the legs, get them out of the car for a bit. And geocaching is a great way. Oh, there you go. Monkey Cake says school is out. Today was their last day of school. Congratulations. Welcome to freedom.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess what I was saying is it is, as you said, a great way to explore new places. But as my motto I like to use, geocaching as a tour guide. And also, if you're going to a new location, a new city, etc., to your point, Chris, you discovered a park you didn't even know in your own neighborhood. Well, right. You can definitely find unique locations, and often that are interesting to the kids if you just do a little bit of research on the geocaching map of amazing places to explore with the kids using geocaching as a tour guide. Or, as you said, if you're not going on a trip, something to do in the hometown.
Yeah. Well, I find using those highly favorited geocaches make an excellent destination for the day, right? Maybe it takes you to a lake or to a park or, somewhere that is unique and worthy of a visit that maybe you knew about in your hometown. You just haven't gone yet.
Yeah, for sure. And you want to bring up Iham's comment there? Yeah, there we go. Iham says he found his first cache with 2 elementary age kids, hopefully his own. They loved the hunt. So there you go.
Why do you say hopefully?
Well, I mean, I was just picturing, just sort of randomly grabbing a couple of kids and saying, I'll give you $0.25 if you find a geocache.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've got candy in the car. Come help me find a geocache.
Maybe not that. I was trying to avoid the whole panel van thing, but yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Sorry, I am. Oh dear. Yeah, and Start Catcher has another one there. Let's just throw that out. He says, if trained properly, just like a dog, it's also a great way to find those caches that require a distraction to grab and replace. And absolutely, yeah, it can be a fun thing to do. It can be a fun thing to do with the kids, and that's the point. I make light of it all because that's what I do here. But it absolutely can be a great thing to do with the kids. But let's maybe talk just a little bit for those. Perhaps somebody saw the title of this podcast pop up on Facebook. They've actually stuck through to this point, which would be a miracle. And they're like, okay, can you please just explain what geocaching is and how we get started? So, you know what? Let's give a real quick backgrounder on how you can get started geocaching with kids. What you'll need is a kid, a GPS device or a smartphone. Really, I mean, okay, probably stop the podcast because I'm about to say something personally sacrilegious, but you don't really need a GPS device anymore.
No, you do not.
What you need is a smartphone. And
that is a GPS device.
Yeah, controversial. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Brian. But download the geocaching.com app. I always suggest people start with the official app because you know what? It's got the little starter videos in it and everything. It's just an easier way to start. And if you decide, this sucks, I want Cachly, well, of course you do. But when you're starting, I think it's good to just start with, the free account, the official app, and most importantly, a sense of adventure.
Right. You can get into it absolutely free. If you decide this isn't for me, that's okay. You haven't invested any dollars. You've invested a little bit of time, and guess what? You've gone out and you've moved. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got yourself off the sofa.
Indeed. There's lots of different step-by-step guides available to finding your first cache, including, as I said, on the official geocaching.com site. They've got some good videos. And shameless plug. I've got a fairly, I think, helpful video I created that is up on my channel, how to start geocaching for free. And as Chris said, it really encouraged people to do the same thing. Just get the free account, start with the free official app, give it a try, see if it's for you. But yeah, it's a great way to get started, easy, and work your way through it.
So you've got the kids.
Indeed.
You've got this smartphone and or GPS device. Yes. Let's just say smartphone, right?
Yeah.
If you can get the smartphone out of the peanut butter smeared fingers of the kids long enough to load the geocaching.com app, the official geocaching app, and then you go out. Now, you can also use this to enhance family road trips, right? Road trips can be fun. Road trips can be frustrating, right? Yes. We've all been there. We were doing road trips before any sort of video device was in a car, be it a VCR, let alone an iPad or a phone, right? And I had to sit in the middle on the transmission hump because I was the smallest and the youngest one of the five on the road
transmission hump or on the engine housing. Yeah.
Yes.
Depends on the vehicle. Yeah.
Exactly. And so now, you can stop and say, hey, you know what? We're going to stop. Maybe it's a rest stop along the side of the interstate. And yes, we're all going to use the restroom, but let's stretch our legs, walk way over to the far corner of the rest stop and go find a geocache.
Good idea.
Just as something different to do. Right. So it gets you out. And if you've been riding in a car for a while, it's good to get out and walk on firm ground and get your sense of
Especially if you've been
they will
riding
be back.
on the transmission. Yeah.
Oh boy, especially then. Yeah. Everything kind of goes numb, so it's good to get moving.
You make a good point though, Chris. And I think if you are listening to this podcast and you live in the Pacific Northwest or you're planning to visit it this summer, you will have a hard time to find a rest stop that does not have a geocache.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, there are some avid geocachers who plan their entire vacation around geocaching, maybe a specific event or two to go to.
That's
But
weird.
you know what? I want to go find the oldest geocache in Wyoming. Come on, let's go do a road trip.
Yeah. No,
Right?
that can be great fun because there's that target goal for the geocacher. But if you're going to the oldest cache in Wyoming or most often the oldest caches in various states and provinces and countries are in interesting locations. It's not common that it's like a magnetic micro under a bus stop. It's usually in a park. It's usually somewhere interesting that makes for a good adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a great point, Chris.
Just Carlo throws in that listening to podcasts while driving between caches is helpful. And, if you happen to be into geocaching, Caching in the Northwest is a great podcast for just such adventures.
And it's mostly kid friendly.
We try to be.
If you can just blank out my channel and listen to Chris and Jim, then it's kid friendly.
It's kid friendly. It may not always be kid interesting.
No, it's rarely kid interesting. That's funny. Carlo had another comment up above.
Did he now?
Yeah, he did. Do you want me to grab it?
Got it.
You got it. He said it helps so when you're caching with kids, it helps to give them each a role. One likes to hold the phone or GPS and the other likes to work the camera. In Carlo's case, absolutely, yes.
Exactly. And, maybe you have one that's a designated logger. So, yeah, give them roles.
Exactly.
Just finding our way.
Logger, you mean like you have one who carries a chainsaw when you're going out?
Exactly. It cuts down the tree hiding the geocache.
Makes it easier. Okay.
No, log the cache on the phone later. Usually
or their job is to write the family name on the log sheet.
On the log sheet. There you go. To operate the stamp if you are so inclined.
As one does.
Just finding our way says, I was introduced to geocaching by a grade school kid who no longer caches. He's more interested in girls and flying.
Well, that's interesting. So if I'm understanding that correctly, what he's saying is it wasn't him who brought the kid out. It was the kid that brought him out geocaching. That's cool. Interesting pivot on the story there.
Mm-hmm. And I think I've seen many chats go by saying, the kids, they started out being interested and they've kind of lost their way. They've kind of, changed things. Don't worry, they'll be back.
There you go. Very cool. So let's talk about one of my favorite topics, which is safety. When you combine safety with fun, when you're out with the kids, that's probably the best way to do this. Try and choose kid-friendly caches. So that's the easiest way to make things safe. And Chris, you were kind of talking about this a few moments ago, but look for high favorites or look for ones with an easy terrain and larger sized containers.
Yes, exactly.
Our friends from Land Sharks made a comment to that effect. We're going to read through a little bit later, but definitely kids are going to prefer finding the larger containers, primarily because that's where you're usually going to have swag and it's a little easier to find. Make sure you pack your essentials when you're caching with kids and you're going out for a hike. Obviously, water, snacks. You might find that you can go through the day without getting hungry. Kids probably are not. Regardless of who's going or where you're going, first aid kit. And, summertime. So think about sunscreen, hats, sun protection.
Bug repellent.
Sorry?
Bug repellent.
Yep. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But, pack whatever are the relevant essentials for your area and the season that you're going out in. But definitely water, snacks, first aid, sun protection. If you've got the phone, you've got the communication and the navigation, so you got that down. But the essentials. Here's an important one, and this is one that is kind of like a win-win in a way. Teach your kids about the geocaching etiquette.
Ooh, good
Leave
one.
no trace and trading fairly. Those are two of the key pieces of geocaching etiquette. That would be great. And those are great lessons to help instill in the kids, leaving no trace and just, practicing good citizenship in nature. And trading items fairly is just, being a nice guy.
Well, and I think both of those things work in multiple situations throughout life.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Pick up after yourself and treat others the way you want to be treated. If you break it into things like that, geocaching really does lend itself to these life learning situations.
I'm sure that was Brian Roth's plan all along.
Exactly.
But you know what?
Getting along and they just keep taking each other's toys. What can we do? Let's go put a container in the woods and tell them they can only take one thing from it.
I wonder if anybody's ever expressed it to Brian that way. That's kind of fun. That's cool.
So our friends at Land Sharks, that's Land Sharks with a Z, by the way. They share a great caching with kids tip for trackables.
Ooh, okay. So there's a different spin on it. Okay.
Our tip for kids is if they want to send out a trackable to travel, they should send out a tag and make sure to write a clear mission and description, which go in the bag with the tag. They should only attach something that they don't mind parting with forever and put it in a relatively new cache in a well-traveled area so that it gets picked up and moved quickly. Now, if I can take a moment to expand on this.
Yeah, please.
A trackable is something that moves from cache to cache, right? We'll just go over it. You can learn a lot more about it, but that's the basics. Typically, it's a small toy or a metal tag that moves from cache to cache. We see a lot of toy cars, right? Like a Hot Wheels or a Matchbox car.
Army soldiers,
any sort of figurine that, you can attach that tag to.
Yeah.
And then you put it in the cache. Now, if you leave it in a bag with a postcard or a laminated card of some sort in there that says, hey, I want this to travel to, I don't know, geocaches near freeways, right? So it can travel.
What a great idea for caching with kids.
Yeah, exactly. Make it clear what you want it to do rather than have to look it up, so then the kids can look at it and go, oh yeah, we're not going near freeways, so we won't take this one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Good stuff. And great advice from Land Sharks. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the whole idea of trackables when you're caching with kids. That's a good point. I guess maybe one last point on safe and fun geocaching with kids is, just reiterating the safety aspect, but putting the safety as a primary consideration when you're going out with the kids. Always supervise them, be aware of your surroundings, and set boundaries for where you're going to let them explore to, because often if you're doing some of the stuff we talked about and you're going out on a trail somewhere, boy, it can be pretty easy to end up on a trail that has a steep side, or up in the Northwest here, we got to be bear aware, sometimes even cougar aware, depending where we are. So all those kinds of parameters that should be, I'm going to say should be common sense if you're going out in the woods with your kids, but maybe you haven't really gone out in the woods yet and with your kids, and you're not really a woodsy kind of person, but the geocaching is like, oh, let's go walk this trail. Well, learn about the environment that you're going to be taking your children into and how to be safe.
Well, and let's say you stop at a big box store remember parking lot etiquette, right? My fully grown daughter came to me, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago and says, Dad, thank you so much for how you taught me to move through a parking lot, that, hey, you know what? I'm small and people can't see me. I have to hold your hand to be safe. Right. Because a kid can run out between cars and boop, they're there in an instant. And you could say, I was watching that. There was nothing there. And there they are. So, be situationally aware.
I like that.
Whether it be the woods, a parking lot, wherever, make sure your kids are safe.
Yeah. Because we want your kids to be safe.
Exactly. Now, some quick tips for beginning geocachers along with their kids. You know what? Start simple. If you're using the geocaching official app, the Geocachinger app, it's only going to let you choose between some very simple, I think 3 to start with, 3 simple traditional caches, right? There's going to be a container, there's going to be a log, and it's going to be relatively easy to find. Yeah. Go find one of those. That will build up your confidence and go, oh my goodness, I never knew this was here. I drive past here 17 times a day. And, I've seen people walking around looking funny, and guess what? I'm one of those people now. Tip number 2 is bring a pen.
Yeah.
A pen, a pencil, a crayon, something to write with. Because it says many caches include. It should say all caches include logbooks that need signing.
Yeah.
But all traditional caches, I'll say.
Yeah, I think that's where the many comes from. But,
yeah, you're right.
But for the beginner cacher, just bring a pen.
Bring a pen. The third thing, we've already touched on it, is to trade fairly. And this was something that, my kids had to work hard at, right? They would see, oh, look, this is cool. Oh, this is cool. Oh, I want these 3. Do you have 3 items to trade? No. Okay.
I still have to work at that. So, yeah.
So if you take something from a cache, leave something of equal or greater value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Equal or greater value. And I mean, that's the thing, is it's a bit of a relative term, but you know what? If you just try, it's better than not trying at all.
And something you talked on earlier, Land Monkey, is be prepared. So carry water, wear sunscreen, and dress appropriately.
Dress appropriately for the conditions you're going into, I guess, is the point. But it just sounded
yeah, that's true.
If you're not going out wearing that,
if you're going to go for the hike in the woods, flip flops are probably not the right shoe to wear.
Well, unless you're Annie Love.
Well, there you go.
But she's the exception, not the rule.
Exactly. And of course, use the official geocaching app to get started, to find nearby caches and navigate to them. Wet Coaster brings up a good question. Should each kid have their own account?
Oh my goodness. How much work do you want to do as the parent?
So I've seen it both ways. Yeah. Right? Where let's take one of our faithful listeners, the Camp Clan.
Okay.
They have the official account Camp Clan, which they can all log under one name, one entry, you're done. They also have their own individual accounts. So it depends on how you want to do it. If you want to do it as young kids and you sign in just one time and you're done, fantastic. I've seen, newborns on the way home from the hospital, they stop to find a cache so that a few of our listeners
have done that,
can have their own, very first geocaching experience. So it's interesting. It can go either way, and it depends on what you're comfortable with as a parent. How many times do you want to log this cache? And I believe some of the apps will help you with that. We're going to talk to Cachely next week, and I believe they're the new version will do multi-account logging.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool.
I may have spoken out of turn. The
Okay.
official Camp Clan story is, to begin with, our sons had a shared account, but later each got their own.
Okay, but there was a kid's account distinct
Mhm.
from the parents' account, which is good for them. What else do we have? Just Carlo shared. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say just Carlo shared. Kids aren't always into the hunt, but they like to make and hide geocaches. So there's another
That's genius.
entire aspect of the game we haven't even talked about. We really kind of focused on the hunt in this episode, but Carlo, really good point. The creation and hide is also
and Dormore goes on with the educational aspect. Writing logs with kids help them with reading and spelling.
Absolutely.
Wino Seattle says it's hard to remember to log Half Pint's account with finds we find together because Mrs. Wino doesn't care much about geocaching anymore.
There you go. I think that's the aspect I was thinking of, is where it becomes having an account for a younger kid can become a fair bit of work. We have two kids. One of them quite early on in the whole family outgoings or going outs decided, nope, do not like. And so that's fine, but you're still coming for a hike because you're not staying at home by yourself. You don't have to look for the caches, but you're still coming for the hike. Our other kid loved it. And you know, still to this day will occasionally go for a hike with us, which is awesome. And look for geocaches. They had their own account, geocaching account. Might still have it. I'm honestly not sure, but I do know they have a trackable that I have a watch on that every once in a while still surfaces here and there, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I think that's the challenge. So our kid who has their own account did that in their tweens, created their own account and started doing their own thing on their own choice. So we didn't have to do anything. They barely ever logged anything in there because they just really enjoyed being out. They didn't really care about the tally. And that's fine.
We have some cache size and type suggestions here. Okay. First one comes from Brylang. When looking for caches with young kids, skip the micros. They love the chance of finding treasure, and there's no room in micros. So he's saying go for the large.
Or even just sometimes even a small is big enough.
That's true.
Something in it, but avoid the micros and definitely I think that's good advice. Yeah.
And CRS 98 says older kids like gadget caches.
Indeed, where there's a puzzle. And this is, I think, what the Sharks are getting at with their comment of visit their award-winning cache at their store that has a solvable puzzle that kids could enjoy working through. But that's sort of like a more of a field puzzle style. The gadget caches, which I guess technically are also field puzzle, but you know what I mean? Like where you've got to manipulate something or figure out how something opens up in a more physical sense. Right. Yeah. Very cool. What else do we have? There's some other comments, weren't there?
This one comes from IHAM.
Okay.
You can burn your kids out on caching if you're not careful. Our year-plus streak burned our youngest out, and he almost never caches anymore.
Yeah, there you go. Streaking.
And CRS, oh no, I'm sorry, Wet Coaster says, make sure the kids are old enough to climb trees.
There you go. And that can be a win-win, right?
Yes, exactly.
Most kids absolutely love climbing trees. We had that when we would take our kids out. The tree climb was awesome. They would just like, whoosh, they loved it. Get up there. What else we got?
This one comes from Komakino. And the kid always thought it was funny that we could find the difficult caches, but couldn't find the easy caches.
Yeah, there you go. And you would talk about caching with kids. Komakino and the Kid is the YouTube channel. The kid's getting a little older now,
Mhm.
but definitely if you scroll back in his videos,
But will always be the kid,
yes, she will always be the kid. Yeah,
without a doubt.
awesome. Doodly doo. Okay.
Wino Seattle says, okay, Half Pint finally realized geocaches as what he considers his treasures. He'd rather go find a geocache than spend an hour at arena sports. There you go.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, Komakina says, not a kid anymore. Laugh out loud. Yeah, indeed.
Well, biologically no longer a kid. However,
always your kid.
Always a kid. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's how my kids are.
Yep.
Both adults, but one married, but always my kids.
Still a kid. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, geez. Good discussion. We got through a lot of interesting, fun stuff. Lots of great feedback from everybody. I'm very appreciative of that. We did mention a few resources. So again, maybe if you've listened to this podcast and maybe a bunch of it was kind of like over your head, you're like, everybody's kind of talking their own language here. Hopefully you're able to get enough out of this to help you. And if you're an experienced geocacher, I saw, where was it? I'm scrolling back. Heather commented, Heather, who's an experienced geocacher, said, my Seattle-like grandkids are visiting me in Beaverton this week. So congratulations, Heather. I hope you have a wonderful visit with the grandkids and probably an opportunity for an experienced geocacher to bring the kids out. So hopefully there's some value in what we've shared tonight. And again, resources we've mentioned, geocaching.com is where you start. The website, the official app, you find it on the App Store, whatever App Store you're using. It is, it's the one that's, well, we always joke about it as the Geocachinger app because it has the registered trademark R at the end.
The R in the circle.
In the little circle. But, the official geocaching app's the best app to start with. And again, as I said, there's lots of how-to videos out there. I would encourage people to check out mine, but there's lots of other ones as well, but mine's the best.
One thing I meant to interject, and I don't think I did, is take your time.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. Don't
I've gone find a geocache at a park, right? I did that and I was like, oh, come on, kids, we're going to go to this park. We're going to find a geocache and then we can play.
Yeah. Make the day about the destination, not about finding more and more. And I think maybe that's kind of what Camp Clan was getting at about burnout. And I saw Winos had asked if there's any other advice around making sure that the kids don't get burned out. And I think, Chris, that's a really good one, is make the outing about the destination, not about the geocaches, and make it, hey, and while we're out, we're going to do a treasure hunt. Then, as opposed to, okay, we found the cache, everybody back in the car, we're going to the next park. Yeah, that's probably a good way to avoid that.
Well, we've got one more comment from Helen at Landsharks.
Okay.
About her own experiences taking kids geocaching.
Cool.
She says, kids usually don't like micros. The groups of 10 to 13-year-olds we've taken caching, middle schoolers, like the fake rocks, the fake pine cones, and caches that contained trade items. We used to volunteer at middle schools, taking kids caching on Wednesday afternoons in the spring, towards the end of the school year when it was nicer. It was on 4 afternoons, and the goal was to learn something new with a community volunteer. We ended up doing it in quite a few schools for 4 to 5 years, and even one of our kids didn't go.
Oh, no, I think she's saying even at schools that their kids didn't go to.
You're exactly right. We pre-stocked the caches with trade items and gave each kid 3 things to trade. It was fun watching them decide whether to keep what they had to trade or to trade for something different. They learned how to use a GPS, how to share and take turns. And there was always one keener who wanted to run ahead and find them first. So we had to watch for that one and make sure everybody got a turn.
Nice.
We usually had 2 or 3 adults and 4 kids each and 4 caches to find.
That sounds like a handful.
Mm-hmm. But that sounds like it sounds like it was planned out very well.
Yeah.
And that all the kids had a chance to go do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, excellent feedback. Thanks, Helen, for taking the time to send us all those thoughts in advance of the podcast. You too can send us your thoughts in advance of a podcast. Helen just sometimes knows what we're going to talk about in advance. So she's got
I don't know how.
a leg up there.
She must be seismic.
I think she is.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, folks. Oh.
No, please. I was just going to throw it over to you, my friend.
Well, let me throw it over to you. Let me take it and I'll throw it right back.
Okay.
Well, this is, how you get along with one another. Kids and adults, thank you for listening to this episode. We hoped you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Absolutely. Hey, and Krista, do you want to, we might have skipped over something around,
well, how did we do that?
Because we were so excited to talk about what Helen shared with us.
You're exactly right. Folks, while you're out geocaching and doing these wonderful treasure hunts and adventures, tag your summer photos with CachingNW. Hashtag CachingNW on social media and be entered into our summer photo contest. There you go. Do you have questions or tips of your own? Email us at feedback@cachingnw.com or call 253-693-TFTC. You can ask us a question right there, or you can leave us a comment or a glow.
Yeah, or you can have your kid tell us about how much fun they're having out caching with
Exactly.
you. All right. Well, we want to take a moment to thank Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Land Sharks, LANDSHARKZ.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online, and they are shipping those online orders daily. And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com. We want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That is, of course, Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, but it's also Groovy Owl, Cool Cow Cachers, and Cachly, coming up soon on this podcast, the geocaching app. If you want to know more about supporting the show, click that Patreon link right over there on the cachingw.com website.
Like Nervous Energies did.
And Skyhawker,
Railroad,
BC Rockcrawler,
Limax,
Antaeus,
Trek Zetter.
Nice. I was waiting for that one. Good. Well played. Wino Seattle,
Terrible Teas,
Wet Coaster,
Camp Clan,
Gas Station Tuna.
That's MC3 Cats to you.
Kitty Quest,
You, Dak,
GeoBirder,
Kid Vegas 19,
J-Car,
M-Nerve,
Genies.
CRS 998.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one to say.
CRS 98. No, it's not. I don't know why I think I tried to combine it with the next one on the list.
Well, you know what happens is as soon as I make fun of you, I trip up. So
okay.
Wait for it. Our favorite kitchen appliance, the LG 9000.
Green words.
Ari 54321.
Team Noltex.
Dora Moore.
Butterfly Girl.
Flagman.
Geocaches.
Just finding our way.
Whidbey Island Gal.
Mountain Bike.
Logwork.
B Pendragon.
You Talks to Rocks.
GSM ×2.
Segehove.
Seebeck Tribe.
GeoNav Pro.
Ackerdoc.
Boomer 365.
Just Carlo.
And Subway Mark.
Listeners, if you want to get in contact with us, as Chris said, the best way to do that is through the phone or the email. And, Chris, I just jumped on top of you because I was starting to read a line that I shouldn't have read. So I'm just going to back off here and let you be the boss.
You can also reach out to us on the geocaching geocaching messenger. Is that how it goes? Yeah.
Sure.
Folks, thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. So if you like the show, please click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. Now, if you didn't like the show, let us know what you want to talk about. But if you like the vibe, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review. If you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. And of course, you can call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask a question, or let us help out with your kids any time of the day or night.
Wait, hold on. No.
Especially Land Monkey. You know what? If you were a good parent, you would not take us up on that.
Indeed.
Of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2024 by Chris Umfenauer. Folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
the after show.
There's Jim. I've been looking for him all night.
I knew he was around here somewhere.
My goodness. All right. Well, we miss him. Hey, and that's, you know what? I'm remiss because I usually remind people at the beginning of the show, if you miss Wits End, send him a message, tag him on social media, let him know you missed him. So now I'm going to tell you that.
I'm just going to let this message hang out here for a while. We don't have to read it if you don't want to.
Starcacher, you're awesome. And hey,
is such great crew. I wonder if he's the professor or Marianne.
Definitely Marianne.
Definitely not Marianne.
That's awesome. Hey, and just finding our way, I'm giving you a hard time. So hopefully
Iham wants to send his kid B Pendragon to Land Monkey.
B Pendragon I can work with. I'm thinking like younger than B Pendragon, maybe not. Yeah.
Oh, too funny. Let's see. We've got some fatas.
We got a few fatasises here.
Let's start off with a couple of congratulations.
Let's do that.
Green Words, 10 years ago tomorrow, joined geocaching. Celebration will ensue. So
nice. Congratulations. That's
on your cache-versary.
Yep. CRS 98 says that. And I say that. And Chris of the Northwest says that.
Of course. Congratulations. Doramore. Now, tomorrow apparently is a big day.
Ooh.
Because tomorrow, Doramore will find cache 10,000. Never thought she'd see that number, she says.
Now, that's a bit presumptuous. She's assuming she's going to find the cache tomorrow.
What if there's an event for cache find 10,000 that she planned 2 weeks ago?
Okay, then I guess as long as she doesn't get lost on her way to the event.
That's true.
That'll be number 10,000. Anyways, I tease as I do, but Doramore, congratulations. That is a fantastic number to get up to. If you think about like 10,000 geocaches, that is a lot.
It's amazing.
Of geocaches.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a room and you put 10,000 geocaches in that room, it would be hard to move around in that room. If
they were micros, you'd never find them. Or nanos, you'd never find them.
Indeed. Doramore says in the other chat, the other side there, it's going to be an Earth cache. There you go.
Oh,
way to go. Now that's how you celebrate a milestone.
Is it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's the best kind of cache.
Starcacher says, Saturday, I hosted my first event cache at a local ice cream place. I had 15 attended. I previously hosted a CCE event in 2022, and I needed this event in order to qualify to get a CCE event for next year.
There you go.
See, it worked.
Congratulations, Starcacher. Another personal milestone there that we're delighted to share. And
that's funny. That's his first official event cache, even though he's hosted an event before.
Yeah, but because it was a CCE, it's a different icon type. I get it. It's cool. Very, very cool. Komakino has a YouTube related fatas. says new video going live tomorrow showing the caches we found while making a pilgrimage to Port Townsend to find more movie locations from The Ring. Yeah, and if so, cool. Looking forward to that. And if you are a Komikino and the Kid follower, you know they have a definite affinity for that film. So that's very cool. Maybe I'm gonna throw in a little plug here for Just Carlo and myself. We have collaborated. I think I hinted at this in a previous podcast, but we have collaborated on a couple of really fun videos, and we're telling a story from each of our unique perspectives and unique styles. So those videos are going live tomorrow morning. So, tomorrow sounds like a great day for
it's a very
YouTube
busy
content.
geocaching day.
Fresh YouTube content and geocaching milestones. So very cool. But yeah, I'm really excited for these videos from Carlo and I to go live. We worked very hard on them, and what I think is awesome is just the same story, kind of, but from just the two very unique styles and perspectives, I found to be very complimentary. So I hope everybody really enjoys those as well.
Nice. Wino Seattle added a congrats on the 10,000 to Doramore. Mine's coming up too, and I'm aiming for the oldest in BC.
Tree hugger. Nice. Komikino says Skimbosh will be jealous of the 10,000 cache finds. Yes. For those who get the inside joke there, Skimbosh's channel is 10,000 caches because his whole greater story arc is the journey to 10,000 finds.
Fantastic. Folks, thank you so much for joining us on this evening. It was a beautiful day. I hope, at least it was here. I hope it was whenever you're listening to this episode.
So if you're listening in the Pacific Northwest on Saturday or Sunday, we're sorry, but Thursday was awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Or, in January sometime. But folks, until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.